Ms. Vasquez of New York, recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Spatzer, I wasn't prepared to make the question that I'm going to be making now. I have another set of questions, but listening to the attacks to 1071 and falsehoods, I felt compelled to set the record straight. So, the ranking member and I have been longtime champions of Section 1071. We wrote it. Can you explain how Section 1071 will increase lending to small businesses?
Well, Section 1071 is a sunshine provision. It lets the light in on what is actually happening in small business lending across the country. And the way in which it does that, it differs than just call report data. It requires the reporting of the race of the applicants. It also requires reporting around denials. And in doing that, it will help us make informed decisions about why people are not getting access to business loans in the United States.
And can you explain how the majority of community banks are exempted from Section 1071?
Yes, because actually when the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau issued the regulation, they were very careful as part of that process to exclude a number of financial institutions, making over so that the actual regulation establishes a threshold of loans that have to be accomplished before the reporting requirement kicks in.
And can you explain the other steps the CFPB took to make the reporting requirements less burdensome by giving them more time to comply?
Yeah, so one of the really interesting things here is that the provision, which has actually been on the books for 15 years, was not actually, after the regulation was finalized, implemented immediately. It has a phase-in period, and it actually allows smaller financial institutions an extended period of time of compliance. Currently, the regulation's effective date has been suspended altogether.
And isn't it true that most banks are already collecting most of this information?
I would think that a financial institution would want to collect financial information relating to its business clients. It may not be true that they're collecting information directly about their race and those dynamics, but it is certainly true that they are collecting information about their business profile.
Through HOMDA. Can you explain how the CFPB was required by law and then a court order to write this rule, and this was not something the CFPB chose to do?
Yeah, the small business lending provision was, as you acknowledge, a requirement of the Dodd-Frank Act. It has been on the books for the past 15 years, and unfortunately, there was a lag in implementing it. During that time period, we have still had a lack of access to capital for minority small businesses in the United States.
Thank you for setting the record straight. To everyone on this panel, I support community banks. I have already publicly said I want to work on FDIC insurance and deposit insurance reform in order to make them more competitive. Yet, President Trump and his Republican allies want to eliminate the FDIC altogether. Does anyone think eliminating the FDIC is a good idea? Does anyone think this will make them more competitive? Yes or no? Do you think it will make them more competitive?
We don't know enough to know that. We need deposit insurance in this country. The FDIC plays a very vital role.
That's a good start. Ma'am?
The federal banking agencies, the FDIC, the Federal Reserve, and the OCC are our partners in supervision for the institutions. And just like the foundation of the dual banking system, where banks have a charter of choice, whether they choose the state charter or the national charter, they should be able to choose whether they want a federal charter, federal supervision of the Fed or the FDIC. And the protection of the FDIC insurance fund is very important to the stabilization of our
My
community
question was
banking
a
industry.
yes or no, if you agree. Yes.
Yes, the FDIC plays a critically important role, and in its absence, it would be highly problematic for all financial institutions.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.